Marriage Boot Camp Season 18, Episode 2. It is a mess, but we're here for it. Let's get into it. It's the second morning of boot camp, and everybody's waking up, getting dressed, getting ready for the day. And we go straight to Treasure P and Molly Mall, and he's over there laying like he's asleep, and she's talking and telling him not to get up because he's a narcissist. And she's kind of singing it to him. She's like, it's all about Molly's world for Molly's girl. In the confessional, she says she had to drink the day before because she was nervous about being in the house. She says she clouds her issues in other ways, dealing with how she feels about him. She says they have a power struggle, and she acknowledges that that is a problem. Then we get to Moni and Tough. So Tough is saying, he didn't know how it was going to be this morning because Moni cried yesterday. And Moni said she doesn't mind the tears because, she's there to get to the bottom of it. And, she's looking forward to walking into the next day. Now we're outside, and Molly Mall is talking to Niri. They're about a pool. He's kind of working out with these little 5-pound weights. And I don't know. It goes back to Treasure. It looks like she can hear them talking, but I'm not sure because she's still in the bed. She's fully dressed and in the bed, by the way. So he's telling Niri, he was like, I just don't know. All this crying, I can't take it. She wants me to be there for her, and I just can't do it. And Niri was like, what do you mean? Like all the crying? And he was like, yeah, I listened to you once and twice, but I just don't want to hear you crying all the time. Also outside is Miles. I'm going to call him Miles. Miles and Amber. Miles is like, do you think we'll get along? And she was like, I hope so, or whatever. And he was like, we always wake up nice. And she was like, and then we end bad. And then he was like, are you scared of what people will think? And she was like, no, I'm scared of how you make me look in front of people. In her confessional, Amber says that she's not homophobic. She doesn't care whether people are gay, straight, bisexual, or whatever. She respects everybody as a human. But the thought of Miles being with a man doesn't make her happy. And, I understand that. So back outside, Miles is like, well, I support and love you. I support and love you. And she was like, oh, that's real nice, but let's see what happens when other people are around. In his confessional, Miles says that he is a bisexual man. And that's not to say that he's not in love with Amber. He says, he's not going to change who he is. It's a part of who he is. And he doesn't think that Amber can get over the reality of his sexuality, which is a good way to put it. Let me say again that it is morning. So Miles and Amber walk into the house, and Amber is like, Treasure, girl, I know you are not drinking again. So Treasure starts laughing, and of course she is drinking. It is early in the morning. Like, they haven't even gotten their assignments or talked to the counselors. Some of them aren't even fully dressed, and she is already drinking. This is a problem. Like, there's nothing wrong with having a good time, but it's a problem. Treasure is like, she is, when she's drunk, she be lit by herself in her own world, and it's because she's insecure. She was like, before she was in all the men's magazines and the social media and all of that, she wasn't insecure. She said before all of that, she thought she was the SHIT. But now that she's a part of that world, it's made her insecure. So she sits down with Miles. Miles is trying to enjoy his little bit of breakfast, and she ends up walking to the table, and she was like, I drink. I don't care. I'm insecure. And she was like, he keeps saying, yes, she loved tequila. He can say whatever he wants. And Miles was like, well, he hates that you don't care what he said. She was like, yeah, he always saying, I do everything for you, and yes, you do everything for me. And she's going on, and I'm like, Miles wasn't expecting all of this. He just trying to eat his little bit of breakfast, but you know how Treasure goes. She says when they talk privately, they're like in a utopia. And he's just like, "Are you just happy being with me?" And she's like, "Yes, I'm happy just being with you, honey." And then she starts to cry while she's talking. She says it makes her emotional, drunk or not, because why can't you just understand that I'm just happy being with you? And it's not drunk or not. We've seen you when you woke up. You weren't crying this morning when you first woke up. It wasn't until you got that first little bit of tequila that tears start flowing. Miles is just sitting there looking confused. Like, what did I get myself into? I only said one thing. In his confessional, Miles is like, she won't even be sad. She'll be talking about something completely positive and just start crying. He was like, I've never seen anybody do that. Trisha got everybody confused. Then she says, why can't everybody be blessed? Life is sad because everybody can't be blessed. So she walks off, and Dr. Ish and Judge Lynn Toller are sitting watching them on the flat screen, and they are just as confused as everybody else. Judge Toller is like, well, I see that Treasure is drinking a lot and early. She was like, she's drinking a lot and talking a lot. What am I seeing here? And Dr. Ish simply explains that alcohol lowers your inhibitions. And when you hold everything in and your inhibitions are lowered, everything just comes flowing out. Dr. Ish explains in kind of a confessional way. He says that, people drink alcohol for several different reasons. Sometimes it's because they're shy, but he says it's all just a chemical coping mechanism. And his job in the house is to help Treasure understand what she's trying to cover up, because it's definitely something. Like, Treasure's young, she's a pretty girl, but she's so emotional, and at this point we don't understand it. I am hoping that by the end of these episodes, by the end of these 10 days, we can understand more about what her actual problem is, because at this point I don't even think it has anything to do with her relationship. Dr. Ish says Treasure is kind of like going wherever the wind blows. That's the way she goes. He says, because she'll say she has a problem with Molly doing this. And then 2 minutes later, she's giving him a lap dance, which is absolutely true. A lap dance, back rub, a hug, whatever she can come up with at the time. So, like I said, I don't believe it has anything to do with her relationship. Dr. Ish also says that it's a lot more to this relationship than they're given. And then he said, well, it might be a lot less to this relationship, but either way he's going to figure it out. Molly says he needs to get her one of those things with the balls in it so she can go in there and jump around in the balls and talk to herself all day, and like a kid. And she's like, I'm happy to be your kid. And then she starts climbing on his back, and I'm just like, no, your man referring to you as a child is not cute, it's not sexy, and it's not to be celebrated. So then Molly was like, how much Hennessy did you have? Did you drink all of the Hennessy? And she was like, quiet for a second. And she was like, well, I drank the rest of the bottle, but it was not that much in there. Girl. They get an announcement from Dr. Ish. It says, all boot campers, please come to the front driveway. So they all go outside, and there's, a small set of bleachers and these crates with all these different colored balls in it. And on the bleachers are buckets. So he told everybody to sit behind the bucket with their name on it. And Moni is like, what is this? So Dr. Ish was like, you're about to find out. Basically, all the balls are different colors, and the balls have words on them. So when it's your turn, you're to go up and grab a ball, or grab some balls, put them in your bucket. And each ball represents things that you resent your partner for. And they have stuff like infidelity and anger and cheating and that kind of thing. So first up, of course, it's Amber and Brock. So when they go in there, they have to load their buckets with, their problems or resentment for their partners. And they are going to go in and throw them at each other. And as they're throwing the balls, they have to tell their partner why they're throwing that particular ball. Amber goes, and of course she gets so many of the infidelity balls, and it's just going to be a mess. Dr. Ish calls this activity a twist on a technique called progressive muscle relaxation. They use it to relax your muscles so that you can then relax your mind. So this should be interesting. Nori in his confessional was like, they just filled up the bucket. Like their buckets were filled up to the T. And Niri was like, yeah, I was kind of sad about it. She was like, I could kind of see from the beginning that they had a lot of issues in their relationship. And it made her sad. Amber goes in. As they're throwing the balls, they have to say why they're throwing that ball. So she throws her anger ball. She's like, I resent you for being a control freak. I resent you for embarrassing me. I resent you for sleeping with a friend of mine. I resent you for sleeping with a man. And then she's like, I resent you for the DMs that I read of you trying to sleep with the man again. And I'm just like, whoa. And Moni is over there like, oh my God. Like Amber and Miles make everybody else's issue a lot smaller. So now it's Miles' turn, and Miles starts throwing his little balls. And he's throwing them softly, but she's acting like, it's going to do a lot of damage the way she's moving. So he's like, I resent you for hitting me. I resent you for screaming at me. I resent you for cheating on me with hood dudes. I resent you for cheating on me in high school. I resent you for busting the windows out my car. And Moni Love was like, oh, come on. And then, the one that takes the cake is he was like, I resent you for sleeping with my best friend. And everybody is just like, wait a minute. Like, for Amber to have so much anger and resentment towards him, like she's been an angel in this situation, it's completely ridiculous. Now, the whole time that she was throwing her balls at Miles, he didn't say a word. He took it. He accepted her resentment. But it seems like every time he throws a ball, she has something to say, to the point where Dr. Ish had to intervene, and he was like, listen, you are to listen, not defend. You don't get to say anything. So I need to add that Miles's last ball. So Dr. Ish said the white balls, you can write what you want to write on them, just in case they didn't cover something. So his last ball is a white ball, and on it he wrote being ashamed of him. So he throws that ball, and Dr. Ish is like, it's hard to be with somebody who's ashamed of you. And I'm like, Dr. Ish, stop instigating. They don't need your help. But, in his confessional, Miles was like, he hates that she's ashamed of him, but at the same time, she's been his rock from top to bottom, from music to no music. So it was just when they think it's over, and Moni starts clapping, she's like, good job. Dr. Ish was like, no, we're not done. And he says that, these resentments being thrown at you means nothing. They just hit you and bounce off you and end up on the ground. So he brings out these plastic jumpsuits that they have to put on, and they are to take the balls that are on the ground that they've thrown at each other and put them in the suits, and they're going to wear them around all day so they can see what it feels like for their partner to have to carry this resentment around all day, every day. And I just think that is a genius idea. So as Amber and Miles are putting the balls in their jumpsuits, Molly Mall leans over and whispers something in Treasure's ear. And Treasure's like, Molly said you love them balls. And while she's saying it, she looks at him and eats a Cheeto. And Miles is just like, well, did he? And he was like, that's all right. But in his confessional, he was like, if Molly's homophobic, if he don't deal with me, that's cool. And I'm like, Treasure, what? Stop drinking. Because, like, whatever your relationship is with your significant other, you don't repeat things that they've said that'll make somebody else feel bad, especially in front of an audience, and a camera, and the counselor. Molly and Treasure are up. Molly starts first. His first ball is he resents her because she doesn't let him get rest at night when he's trying to sleep, probably because she's drunk and singing and crying. And then his next ball is he resents her for, I guess, the fact that he doesn't know if she's crying because she's happy or sad or depressed. And the last ball was one that he wrote in, and it was the drinking nonstop. So that's all he had, and now Treasure's up. Her first ball is she resents him for his fame, and I don't know how to feel about that one. And then she resents him because he thinks money can buy him love. And the last one is she resents him because he acts like he's her father. Nori and Niri are up. Niri says she resents him for not helping with the kids, not wanting to take them to basketball practice, not or being upset because she's hanging out with her friends and not appreciating the fact that she made him dinner. And it's that's normal. When I say that's normal, I mean in a relationship, the things you do for your partner are very much appreciated at first, and then they become expected and taken for granted. Um, just because they don't praise you for doing it anymore. It's something that they expect you to do. It becomes like second nature to them and to you to do it. Nori's issues, he resents her for going to every baby shower, every bar mitzvah, and the last one, which shocked Niri, was he resents her for not participating in having another baby. And she just didn't understand that. Like, he's not helping with the ones that he has, and he wants her to have another one. Moni and Tough are up, and Tough goes first. And his first ball was he resents her for not allowing him to be the breadwinner. How is she supposed to stop her shine so that she doesn't make more than him? I don't know. And then he resents her for stopping the way he makes his money and changing it, and letting the past change how they were making money or something like that. In Amber's confessional, she was like, I don't understand how he blames her for his rap career not going the way that he wanted it to go. And Moni in her confessional is like, after all of the infidelity and all of the things that he put her through, she didn't want to help him. And I understand that. It's like, you're not committed to me. We may or may not have a future. Why am I going to build you up so you can go live your life with somebody else? And I completely get that. So Moni says that she resents Tough for his infidelity. She also resents him for wanting to continue the relationship and still cheating. And I get that. Like, if you don't want to be faithful, just don't be in a relationship. That's for any and everybody. Whether you've been in a relationship 2 days or 2 decades. If you don't want to be with that person exclusively and you know that that's what they want, just leave it alone. Dr. Ish says that the only thing worse than resentment is carrying it around unspoken. And that is why they have to wear these suits for the rest of the night. So all the couples go back inside, and everybody's hanging around in the kitchen, and Treasure goes straight to the couch, and she lays down. So Molly comes and checks on her. He's like, are you hungry? Do you need anything? She was like, I'm just laying down. He was like, I know, I'm just checking on you. She was like, thank you. And in her confessional, she was like, I am lit. I have mixed Hennessy with tequila, and I don't feel good. No, you do not feel good. No, everybody knows that you don't mix brown and white and then go out in the sun. Like, I can only imagine what she's feeling. Like, if you're going to be a drinker, you have to know your limits, know what you can take, know what your body can handle. She is killing herself. So while they're at the table, Miles is like, what if they make us change rooms? Like, what if there's a couple that's more petty, or a couple with, more cheating or something? And Moni was like, no, there's not a couple with more of that. And Tough is like, well, that's all in the past. A changed man stands before you. And Moni goes into it, and she's like, well, that's the thing. You haven't completely changed your behavior. And in his confessional, Tough is like, I just want her to be able to get past our past grievances. And it seems like Moni's struggling to do that. Not because he cheated once in the past, but because they got back together and he continued to do it. So back at the table, Tough asks Amber. He was like, if you catch him cheating and y'all decide to rekindle, are you gonna go through his DMs? And Moni was like, yes. And guess what I found? And he was like, well, why are you checking his DMs? And she was like, to see if he's serious about rekindling. And it seems like to me that after they got back together, she went through his phone and found something else. And instead of him owning up to it and being accountable for it, he is mad because she found it. So in the confessional with Amber and Miles, Miles was like, "We don't even check each other's phone," and Amber was like, "I do check your phone. Sometimes I check your phone when we're asleep." And he was like, "Oh, well, I never check hers." So back at the table, Miles tells Moni, "When you took him back, you were supposed to fully forgive him for cheating," and Moni is like, "BS," and she was like, we're talking about a man that was cheating on me when I was pregnant, and I didn't find out until after I was pregnant, and or after I had the baby. And Tough was like, yeah, and how did you find out? She was like, because the B popped up on your social media. And he was like, how do you see a tweet from somebody you don't follow? He's missing the complete point. She was like, I follow you so I can see what she does or whatever, but he's missing the point. Simone gets mad and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. So I was supposed to pretty much mind my business while you go mess with other girls and go on your merry way." And he was like, "Yeah, at that time that was my mind state. That's how it was supposed to go." And I just, at first I thought it was their age difference. They have 12 years in between them, but he has the mind of like a 15-year-old. Like it doesn't. He's not. He doesn't have the mind of a 30-something-year-old. So Tough says he's looking for Mo to let go of the past pretty much. And he was like, the cheating that took place was when he was 25 years old. That would have made her 37. So, yeah, she was a bit more mature than him. But for him to still have that mindset now, it's mind blowing. He wants to. Of course, she got up and walked away from the table. So now he's going to go check on her. But in his confessional, he was like, he want her to let all that go, and he wants to move on. And that's the thing about people who cheat or lie or do something to make you feel a certain type of way. They feel like there should be a time limit on how long you're mad or how long this bothers you, or you can't do something to me and then tell me how long I can be mad. He goes in the room with her and he's like, you keep running out of the room and you can't keep running out of the room. And he was like, how am I ever going to be considered not a cheater? And she was like, stop cheating. She explains to him that the blame doesn't belong to her for searching him up on Twitter. The blame belongs to the person who did the wrongdoing. And it is him. He did her wrong. So Amber and Miles are in their room, and Miles is like, if I had to walk around like this all day carrying your resentment, I would be ready to jump off of a bridge. And she was like, yeah, now you get to see how I feel. And she was like, my thing is, if you have this much resentment for a person, why continue to fight to be with them? And that's a very valid point. I hope she can answer that question for herself. In their confessional, Miles says if boot camp doesn't work for them, maybe they need to do another boot camp because her walking away from him permanently, he just doesn't imagine that. And she was like, I'm not doing another boot camp. If this doesn't work, then it's time for me to roll. Dr. Ish says that the boot campers seem to be hitting their limit with these resentment suits on, and now it's time to push them just a little further. So he makes an announcement, and everybody now has to go out to the patio. They walk out, and it is the infamous marriage boot camp rap battle. They've got the clipboards and the headsets, and everybody's going to basically rap about their resentment, I guess. And can I add that Amber, without makeup, she just looks like a really pretty ghost. She is really, really fair skinned. Like, she's really pale. She's still beautiful, though. But she looks way different without her makeup. I'm sure everybody does, but I just wanted to add that. Okay, so it's the Clapback Battle. They get to take two of their partner's biggest resentments and they get to write basically a rap defending themselves. And the first up is Moni and Tough. And for Moni, like she said, this shouldn't be a problem because she's a two-time Grammy nominee. So we're going to see what these lyrics do. So Tough goes first, and his rap, it was cute. It was on beat and stuff. But one of his main lines is he was basically raised with infidelity. What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? If you were raised with it and you saw what it did to the other person, and you shouldn't want to do that to anybody. If you were raised with infidelity, that means that either your mother cheated on your father or your father cheated on your mother. Either way, you love the person that was hurt. So you shouldn't want to see that for that person or your partner. Moni killed it. She she did. I can see why she's a two-time Grammy nominee. It was real cute, real short, but she basically told him to be accountable and show some empathy, and that can go a long way. You know, I liked hers. Nori says that Moni and Tough should just do rap battles. That's how they should settle all of their problems in their relationship. Molly Mall and Treasure are up next. Molly goes first, and he says that he needs her sober when she is pleasuring him. And she said he's a control freak, but that's only when they're between the sheets or something like that. It was bad. It wasn't really on beat. He could have did a lot better and put a lot more into it. But his main problem with her is the drinking, and I'm sure she's just a beautiful person without the alcohol. So Treasure P is next. Treasure P is like, she come up there and she start with, I drink, I cry, I don't know why. I drink, I cry, I don't know why. And it worked, but she started crying while she was saying it, and I was just so over it. She was like, your love is a drink that I want to keep taking or something, but it burns me or something. She was like, no matter how hard I try, you say I'm not good, I'm not great. Is this love or hate? And I felt it, but she was crying. And then at the end, she went again, I drink, I cry, I don't know why. And she was still crying when she was saying it. But it was it was cute. It would have been better if she wasn't drunk. It would have come across better if she wasn't so drunk. And Nori is Super Cell Tower. That is a number one hit to him, I guess. Moni felt Treasure. She really felt it. She was like she's been through things like that, and she says she understands that Treasure doesn't feel like people see her, and she wants her to know that she does see her, and that was very touching. Miles and Amber. So Miles goes first, and he pretty much said that they've been together since high school. She quick to pick him up and then throw him down and break him. And at the end, he was like, do you want the real me or the fake me? And he felt it so much, he had to say it again. Do you want the real me or the fake me? So then Amber goes. And she's like, basically, he brought the infidelity and he playing with her. And her last line was, playing with my mind, baby, boss up and be a boss. And she kept, because he did his line once, she had to do hers 3 times. She's like, playing with my mind, baby, boss up and be a boss. And then Moni jumps in, she starts singing along, she get up, she dance to it. And it's a good time, but it's a good way to put your feelings out there, I guess. So before Nori and Niri, like, it goes to commercial break after Amber and Miles, and then there's this little short clip in between the commercials, and it's Moni and Tough. And Moni says Jamal blames me for his rap career not going where he feels like it should go. And she was like, pretty much that's a consequence of the way he did her. And he basically says, like, why would you stop helping me if we're still going to be together? And I don't know how to feel. Like, I don't know if he understands it. And he was like, well, we would have been better off if we would have continued the way we were going. It would have been better for the both of them. And I understand that. But had he not been cheating, their relationship would have been better for the both of them. So there are just consequences to your actions. You can't do people if you knew that your career lied in her hands, why would you cheat on her? I just don't understand. Anyway, that was just a side note. We're going back to it's Nori and Niri's turn. So Neri starts hers off with help, 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 help. And she does her best with rapping. It was horrible, but it was cute horrible. She basically said, "You want more kids, but you don't help. But I need more help." And at the end, she was like, husbands just don't understand. And it was cute or whatever. But now it's Nori's turn, and everybody is glued because Nori is an MC, and everybody just know it's about to be fire. And honey, it was terrible. He says they're your favorite couple's favorite couple, and they are a favorite of the show. My favorite of the show. Um, he basically says he understands that she need more help, and he gonna make it so it's not about not about me, and more about we or something, and they gonna eat food with bibs, and I I don't know. I expected a lot more from Nori, but it was comedy, it was funny, I guess. But I'm just glad all the couples got to get a little bit off their chest and got to respond to the allegations of resentment when they were throwing the balls. Dr. Ish says there is a term in psychology called the walk away wife. And it basically happens when a wife will have a complaint for years and the husband never changes. And then one day he'll be surprised when she asks for a divorce. And he says Neri is a classic example of this. And that is just like heartbreaking. Like, I never thought about it that way. He said that Neri continues to give Nori all the information he needs to make a very simple change, but he's not doing it. He's not following through. He said it's like he thinks she'll never leave. That's interesting. So outside, Dr. Ish says before they end for the night, they are going to get their very first evaluation. And he calls Judge Toller out. And in the confessional, Nori was like, he called her Little Suge Knight because she's very, like, intense. And Niri was like, yeah, she's scary. She was scared when she came out. She was like, what's about to happen next? So Judge Toller comes out in all her theatrics. I love the way she moves her body. She don't just talk with her hands. She talk with her whole body. And she's like, the ladies have wrote the theme song for Marriage Boot Camp. I cry and I don't know why. And help, 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 help. She said it's their job to figure out why they're crying and then offer them help, 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 help. Judge Toller addresses Amber and Miles first. She says, they use pretty much all the balls and they've been carrying that around with them. And whether they decide to leave there together or apart, that she wants to help them make an educated decision whether they live there together or apart. To Moni and Tuff, she says, Moni hasn't gotten over something that he did when he was 25 years old. She said that they have to pretty much get over the past, find out why it happened, and accept the reason for whatever the reason was. She's going to have to accept it. Like, I just did it, or whatever the reason is. It seems like Moni has more trouble accepting the reason for it than actually accepting the past. That was just my little bit that I added. And she addresses Treasure and Molly next. And she says to Treasure, I'm worried about you a little bit. She said she wants to sit down and have a conversation with Treasure, but not tonight. She wants her to be sober. So she's going to catch her early in the morning. She better come real early because, honey, as soon as Treasure's feet hit the floor, she ready to drink. She says to Nori, she was like, Nori, I think you are a thoughtful dude. And there's a pause, and Nori was like, but? She was like, but I think you insert yourself into the conversation too soon. She was like, I need you to hear her and hear her differently, because she said, I know we sound like wah, wah, wah. And that's how it begins to sound after so many years of marriage and arguing about the same things. You stop hearing it. She says that we as women, we repeat things because we don't feel heard. And the goal here is to make sure that she gets heard. Judge Toller has said what she had to say, and she walked off. And Dr. Ish says resentment can lose some of its destructive powers if you purge it and speak about it. So he wants them to look behind their chairs. There's a crate, and they can take all their balls out and pretty much have a good night. I don't know if I was the only one that noticed that they removed these plastic sweaty suits and went to the kitchen. Everybody with Molly, of course. Molly went on up to his control room, and I'm hoping that he went up there with the intention of taking a shower. Like, y'all have been sweating all day. But before he can do anything, Dr. Ish comes to get him, and he wants to talk to him privately, I guess. So they're starting to talk, Dr. Ish, and then the camera goes back down to the kitchen, and Moni is like a mother to Treasure because she's so concerned about her. And she was like, Treasure, did you eat? Did you realize there's new food here? And Treasure was like, am I making y'all feel weird? I'm just socially awkward, and I drink, and it makes me shy away from the realities of life. Like, it's not even that I'm not in control. I'm not in control of myself. And you can tell she's about to start crying because she says that in a choked up way. In her confessional, Treasure says that she knows that she cannot drink before she speaks to the judge because the judge is an epitome of a class act. And she knows, and she's down to earth, and she knows that she can receive from somebody like that. I guess, girl, can you just not drink just for the sake of not drinking, though? So Molly Marl is telling Dr. Ish that he struggled during the quarantine. The quarantine was hard for him, and then he got here, and they're in this tight room, and then he goes on to say that he's dealing with some issues in his life, and he said in 2014 he had some life-changing issues, and Dr. Ish is like, which were? He was like, legal issues. And then they show this magazine that says Molly Mall is facing jail time, which was interesting to me. I'm gonna have to look that up. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I found an article. I just clicked on the first one I saw after I Googled it. And this one is from allhiphop.com. Never heard of it. I hope it's a credible source. It says that Molly Mall was convicted of setting up shell companies to run a prostitution ring for at least 12 years in Clark County, according to prosecutors. Molly Mall took in large sums of money from his escort business, which allegedly prostituted hundreds of women. But he never had a legitimate permit for the companies, which operated from 2002 through 2014. In 2014, Molly was charged after a dramatic raid on his home in Las Vegas. A police helicopter landed in his front yard. That's dramatic. An armored vehicle commandeered by FBI agents knocked down the front gate of his mansion. During Molly Mall's trial, multiple women testified that they had been manipulated, traumatized, and humiliated by Molly. He was also accused of verbally and physically abusing some of the victims who were imprisoned and enslaved, according to the judge who sentenced him. That must be the dungeon he was talking about. In October of 2019, Molly Mall, born Jamal Rashid, struck a plea deal with prosecutors to avoid dozens of years in prison. He pleaded guilty to the use of an interstate facility to aid in the unlawful activity of prostitution. Prosecutors sentenced Molly to the maximum penalty of 33 months. He will also have to service months of probation when he is finally released. Molly Mall, over the last several years, had dictated his life to music and helping people, Molly Mall said in the comment to TMZ.com. He has fully recognized the error in his ways and has gone out of his way to try to make amends. He intends to take full advantage of each and every program offered by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. In addition to starring in Love and Hip Hop, Molly Mall is a noted producer. He has crafted tracks for Snoop Dogg, Tyga, French Montana, Pusha T, Chris Brown, and others. Okay, so again, that was on allhiphop.com. Yeah, so it says in this article from TMZ.com on September 21st, I think. Oh, I'm sorry, September 5th of 2021, it says 33 months um, prison sentence begins. Molly Mall got the judge's message loud and clear. And I guess, what in the world? I'm going to read this article too from TMZ.com. It says Molly Mall got the judge's message loud and clear. TMZ has learned that he's already surrendered to the feds, and after his last ditch effort to delay his prison sentence was shot down in court. According to legal documents obtained by TMZ, a judge said the hip hop producer failed to articulate any reason why his health condition couldn't be adequately treated while he's behind bars. The judge said Molly failed to show he couldn't get a CT scan or biopsy from the prison's health services division. Remember, he says he discovered a mass on his thigh that could potentially be cancerous. In her response to Molly's request to postpone, the judge said she wouldn't entertain any further meritless delay tactics. Translation: if you need it, get it while you're doing time. So Molly turned himself into the Federal Correctional Institution in Sheridan, Oregon. His release date is currently slated for December 15th, 2023. Molly pled guilty in late 2019 to running an illegal prostitution service for more than 12 years. The feds say he owned, operated, and managed several of these sorts of businesses in Clark County, Nevada. The producer's lawyer, Steve Sato, says Molly Mall, over the last several years, had dedicated his life to music and helping people. He has fully recognized the error in his ways and has gone out of his way to make amends. I just read that. Okay, so back to the show. That's what Molly's legal issues was. So Dr. Ish basically says that while he's here, the only thing he's seen Molly do is blame Treasure for everything. And we're back at the table, and here we go with Treasure. She's gonna break down. She's gonna lose it. I can tell. So Treasure's talking, and she was like, "I'm nice. I'm just really nice, and I drink, and I'm nice." And she just keeps going on, and then she coughs, and she immediately gets up. I guess she feels like she's about to throw up. She goes and starts throwing up in the kitchen sink of a shared home. Now, I would rather you throw up on my floor any day than to throw up in my kitchen sink. I don't even like for people to wash their hands in my kitchen sink. Somebody needs to talk to her. She needs help. She's young, she's inexperienced, and she needs help. So everybody is kind of grossed out. There's food on the counter right beside the sink that she's throwing up in. It's awful. Sorry about that. That was my teenager calling from school wanting to be checked out early. Anyways, back to Treasure throwing up in these people's sink. Oh my God, everybody's kind of grossed out. They kind of clear out the kitchen. Everybody has to step out. Neri says she can't watch somebody throw up without wanting to throw up herself, and I'm kind of like that. The smell of it makes me want to vomit. Everybody leaves except Moni. And again, Moni's like a mother figure to her. She goes, she holds her hair back, and she, helps her out, make sure she's done throwing up. I couldn't do it. I'm going to get off the subject of her throwing up, but just watching her rinse out the little drain catcher thing with the throat, oh God. And it's just like, girl, go get some bleach. We can't just rinse oh man, I would never want to eat anything that was clean in that sink. I just, and she was in her confessional. She was like, "I'm glad I threw up because I've been feeling out bad all day." But Nori was like, she needed to throw up because that's her system telling her that something is not right, something is shutting down. So Molly Mall is talking to Dr. Ish, and Dr. Ish is asking him, do he think it's something else, or is it just the drinking or whatever? And Molly was like, yeah, drinking is her drug of choice. And Dr. Ish says, well, I would much rather have Judge Toller have that conversation with her because she'll probably receive it better than she would from me. And Molly Mall was like, yeah, because a man to her, the only man she really respects is probably one man, and that's her father. Dr. Ish says just as he suspected, Molly Mall is hiding behind or hiding pieces of himself behind Treasure's drinking. And he doesn't want to push him too far because he doesn't want him to completely shut down before he has a chance to safely open up, whatever that means. And he's hoping that the next few days will put him at ease. And there is definitely something more to Molly Mall. He does Treasury does take the spotlight with her drinking and crying, so he's able to kind of sit back and act like he doesn't have a lot going on. So Molly joins everyone in the kitchen and he's talking to Treasure and he's like, "You're not gonna eat?" And she was like, "I just threw up." And he was like, "What made you throw up?" And she was like, "Well, I know that I drink. I know I'm not myself and I drink, but you're not the first or the last person who's told me that." And he was like, "I'm kind of proud that you're actually talking about it. And that might be, a good thing in this relationship." So Treasure goes to, after all of that, she goes to the refrigerator. She's like, "I need to make myself a drink." And Moni was like, "No, you don't. You need to drink some water, some H2O." So she gets 2 bottles of water out of the refrigerator and she sits down and she starts drinking them. And Tough is like, no matter what you put in your body, you can always combat it with water. The fact that Treasure was about to turn to another drink after she's just thrown up in somebody's kitchen sink, that lets you know she has a problem. They're like, "You have a meeting with the judge in the morning. Chill out." So everybody leaves and the kitchen is a disaster. And of course, Neri, because that's what she's used to doing at home, feels obligated to clean the kitchen. And Nori started helping her and it was just so nice. He finally heard her. I don't know if he heard her or Judge Toller, but he heard somebody and he's helping. And in his confessional, he was like, "I don't clear people's plates. I write rhymes." But he's doing it anyway because that's what makes his wife happy. And that's what marriage is about. So Moni and Tuff go back to the room, and she was basically telling him that she was surprised to hear that he had a problem with her not helping him with his career after what he did to her. And he's basically saying, you shouldn't turn your back on me because of some infidelity. And she was like, "Really?" Because there was like 8 women, and it was before and after I was pregnant. He said that he understood what he did, but in his career at that point he was close and she turned her back on him and she shouldn't have did that. And he said she wanted to stay with him but not help him. And in his mind, in a relationship that's the same as saying we're going to be together but we're never going to have sex. And that is such a terrible analogy. That is not what that is. So that's pretty much how the episode ends. I can't wait for next week, but here's my take on things. I think that Amber and Brock's relationship has just been through too many things. Relationships, I like to look at them as a ship, and you can only put so many holes in a ship before it sinks. I think that they have too many holes in their ship to actually have a relationship. They might be able to switch to a friendship, but the relationship boat has sank for them. I truly believe that. Um, Nori and Niri, I think Nori loves his wife. Nori's a good person. He's a good man. Um, he was just raised a certain way, and he saw relationships play out in a certain way as a child, or that's the way he grew up. And I think Neri, the stress of being a wife and a mom and having all of that on your shoulders, and now as we've seen on Love and Hip Hop, she wants to be a businesswoman as well. She's just asking for a little bit of help. Not to mention, Nori doesn't have a driver's license, so she's having to pick him up just like she's picking the kids up. And it gets to be too much, and she's starting to feel alone. And he's drinking every day on his show, and they definitely have a good marriage. It's just she needs a little more from him, and that's how marriages are. That your needs change. She may have been handling it well for the last 14 years or 10 years or however long they've had kids, and now she just needs help. Your needs change. She's tired, and Nori is hearing that, and he's doing little things to help, like helping clear the table, and I respect him for that. Moni and Tough. Um, Moni is in a place where she wants to be with him because she loves him, but she doesn't want to help advance his career for the next woman, and I completely get that. He just needs to understand that they need to work on their relationship before they work on the business of it all. who am I missing? Treasure and Molly. Molly is going away to prison for 33 months. I'm not sure their relationship can withstand that now that I know that. Treasure needs some time alone. She needs to go to a sober house. She needs to work on herself. She's a beautiful woman. She has a lot of potential, and she doesn't need a man right now. Not just Molly Mall. She doesn't need any man right now. She needs to focus on Treasure and becoming Treasure P and knowing that she is the prize, and it's not the other way around. That's it. That's all. That was fun. I will see you guys next week. Or if a show catches my... Oh, there is a show. It's got Brandy and Eve and some other people. Tasha... What's Tasha's name? What is it? Notori? I forgot her name. Tasha from Power is going to be on this other show. So I will be getting into that and reviewing that, hopefully, if I like it. I was planning to do Our Kind of People, but when it came on, the first 2 episodes, I didn't like it. I like it now, so I might jump in on that train too. But anyways, this video is already longer than the show, so I will see y'all with my next review or video or whatever comes next.